Hey, loves, we have to talk because some of you have taken this whole femininity thing and gone way overboard. And I get it. There's so many femininity coaches online who are telling you that the reason why you're single or you don't have the life that you want and the money that you want is because you're just too masculine and you need to learn how to do things in a feminine way. And at the same time, to some extent, that is true. Relationships thrive on polarity. In a healthy, lasting relationship, there's always one person who is more in their masculine energy and more in their feminine energy. That being said, we do have masculine energy as women. As women, we have both masculine and feminine energy, just like men have both masculine and feminine energy. And because of this, if you are constantly asking what is the feminine way to do things, then you have this whole idea wrong. That's what I wanted to talk about today. So, hi, I'm Keisha Rice. I am a dating coach and hypnotherapist. I help ambitious women of faith learn how to heal their unhealthy relationship patterns and attract and maintain long lasting, cherished love. Now, when we talk about feminine energy and what it means to be feminine, something that I hear all the time online, and I find it to be hilarious, is what is the feminine way to set boundaries? There's a huge problem with that because boundaries are one of those times in which you would use your masculine energy. So just step away from the whole idea of feminine and masculine right now. Don't let that get you in a chokehold. And think of it this way: masculine energy is structure, feminine energy is flow. So, setting boundaries is a structure. This is one of the reasons why it is so important that we recognize and honor the fact that we have both masculine and feminine energy, because it is our masculine energy that puts the structures in place so that we can be at our best feminine, so that we can flow, we can be present, we can be authentic, knowing that we are doing so from a place of safety. So, back to this idea of boundaries being masculine because they are a structure. When we set boundaries, we are using some of our masculine energy so that we can be more present in our lives as daughters, as wives, as mothers, as sisters, so that we can, again, be more feminine and more flowy in those relationships. What you're really asking when you say, what is the feminine way to set boundaries, is what is the way that I can set boundaries in which I can still be a people pleaser and not hurt anyone's feelings? And sorry, in life, sometimes in order to do what's best for yourself, you will disappoint other people. And that is not your problem, that is their problem. So, when we talk about setting boundaries, the first thing that I'm going to need you to do is to stop worrying so much about other people's reactions, because boundaries are about you, babe. They're about what you need. And also, I need you to remember that boundaries are fences. They are not concrete walls. So when you set a boundary, think about the difference between a wall and a fence. A wall you can't see through. A wall is harder to get through, is nearly impenetrable. Whereas a fence offers some protection, right? But you can see through it. You can see who's on the other side. You can choose to open and close it and let people in. That is what boundaries do. They allow you to have this framework, this structure in a relationship so that you can see whether or not the person respects you, how they treat you. You can, act in a way that allows you to best grow and develop this relationship. And if need be, yes, you can move them out of your yard and you can close the fence, or you can invite them in. That is what boundaries do. So when we set boundaries, we have to remember that you're not making a demand about something. Um, Not only are you not making demands, you're not being controlling and you're not manipulating anyone. Boundaries do not come from a place of shame. They do not come from a place of resentment. And they do not come after you've lost your patience and you end up losing it on someone and telling them, well, if you don't do this, then I'm out, right? Boundaries come from a place of calm, centeredness, knowing what it is that you want and need in a relationship. So, first of all, if you are not clear on what your wants and needs are in a relationship, and yes, I specialize in helping women with romantic relationships, but this applies to all relationships. So family, friends, coworkers, bosses, etc. Make sure that you get clear on those needs first. Don't just go out here arbitrarily setting boundaries because someone on TikTok set a boundary and you're like, oh, that sounds good, right? You really need to know what you need, what will help you preserve your energy, what will help you show up as your most authentic self, as your most loving self, so that you can be loved and cherished as well. Now, boundaries are clear and they are concise. You are simply telling people, hey, this is what I need in order to have a good relationship with you. There should be no waffling on that. You should be firm in your boundaries. Again, boundaries are a masculine structure. So when we set boundaries, we want to remain firm. We want to be focused. And at the same time, you do want to be kind and compassionate. So when you talk about setting boundaries in the feminine way, yes, there is a space to, allow people to feel their emotions when you set your boundary. Let them have the reaction that they need to have. But at the same time, that doesn't mean that you change your mind. So, for example, I have talked about this before on TikTok and Instagram. When I was a journalist in my former career, I worked the overnight shift, and one of my boundaries was do not call me past 8 p.m. because I have to be at work early. And I always said to people, hey, I have to go to bed early. So if you call me past this time, I will not be picking up the phone. And there were some people who did not like that. And they would say, well, that's not fair. I get home from work. I don't feel like automatically getting on the phone. I like to relax and do this and do that before I talk to anyone. And cool. I would listen to people voice their concerns about my boundary. And I would say, I completely understand that. At the same time, if you call me past 8 p.m., I'm not going to be picking up the phone, right? So you can have compassion and consideration for what other people feel about your boundaries, but that doesn't mean that you waver on them because they are what you need and it's best for them as well. Again, in that example, when I was setting this boundary about not calling me past a certain time, it wasn't because I was being an evil witch, right? It was because one, I needed my own rest, but also for the sake of those relationships. When I was on a phone call with someone, I wanted to be present. I wanted to be engaging. I wanted to have a good conversation. I didn't want to be, half falling asleep. I didn't want to be staring at the clock, being like, I really need them to get the hell off this phone so they can go to bed. I wanted to be fully there, listening and having a good back and forth conversation. In order to do that, I could not take phone calls past a certain time. So when you think about boundaries in this way, it is feminine because, it allows you to flow, but also it is the polite, unselfish thing to do because this is what allows you to be your very best in a relationship. Now, remember that when you are setting these boundaries, that their reaction is not your problem. Again, their reaction is not your problem. You can be kind. Now, this is the difference between nice and kind because people who are nice are people pleasers. People who are nice are actually manipulative because they are nice so that other people will be nice to them. They are nice because they expect they will get a certain type of treatment in exchange. You don't ever want to be nice, right? Nice girls and nice guys, they really do finish last. But you can be kind. And when you are kind, again, when you set a boundary and someone says, oh, well, I have these objections or these concerns, you can listen. You can hear them out. And you can say, I really truly understand where you're coming from, but at the same time, I need to do what's best for me. That is kindness. And if they truly care about you, if they at least respect you, then they will respect your boundaries. If a person does not respect your boundaries, they do not respect you, and you do not need to be in that relationship. So just remember that when you're setting boundaries, it is completely normal to feel uncomfortable when you are communicating your boundaries to someone, especially as women, because society has conditioned us to be nice girls, right? To not cause a stir, to not, raise up any flags, to be sweet and meek and quiet and kind. And when you set boundaries with people, there might be some people who, especially because you're a woman, they're surprised that you have no problem asserting, like, hey, this is what I need in order to have this good relationship with you. Their surprise, again, is not your problem. So remember that just because it takes someone off guard does not mean that you did anything wrong. And if someone is completely caught off guard by a boundary you set, you can give them some space and some time. Sometimes that person will let you know that they're not going to respect any boundaries that you set. And again, that means they don't respect you, so you should move on. Sometimes, again, the person's just caught off guard. They need a day or two. After that, everything will be fine. But either way, you have to hold fast to what you know is important and true in your heart. And remember that when you are setting a boundary, all you need to set is the boundary. So all you need to say is, hey, I do not like to receive phone calls past 8 p.m. If you call me past that time, then I will not be picking up the phone. You don't have to give any further explanations than that. I told you a minute ago that the reason why I did that was because of my work schedule, but I didn't owe anybody even that much. If I decided that people can only call me 1 hour a day between 4 and 5 p.m., that is my boundary, and that is fine. So never debate people about your boundaries. Just set them. If they keep asking why, just repeat the same phrase over and over again. Repeat the boundary over and over again. And if they keep asking, then again, they do not respect your boundary. And what did I just say? If they do not respect your boundary, they do not respect you. And make sure that you follow through with your boundaries. So if you set a boundary saying, I don't accept phone calls past a certain time, then don't accept phone calls past a certain time. Don't make exceptions, because people will try to test you. And the more they get away with these tests, the more they will keep doing it. And then you'll be asking yourself, why does no one respect my boundaries? Because you're not enforcing them. So remember that boundaries are always about you. They are what you need in order to have a good relationship with someone else. And they are also about the consequences that you will set. So again, you're never forcing anybody to do anything. Back to that time example, people were free to call me all they wanted to past 8 p.m. They just were not going to get a response. I'm not going to yell at them, scream at them, punish them. I'm just not going to answer the phone. So you can set a boundary with someone who tends to get angry quickly and is temperamental. You can say, hey, if you continue to raise your voice, I am going to have to disengage from this conversation. And then when they raise their voice, you say, thank you. I tried to have a conversation with you. I can no longer continue this conversation. And then you leave. And again, you leave, you enforce this boundary, because if you renege on this boundary, it is not a boundary. And if you renege on it, you are teaching people that they don't have to respect you. You are training people to disrespect you. So remember that there is no feminine way to set a boundary. However, setting boundaries and creating that masculine structure allows you to embrace your femininity more fully, because once you have the right boundaries in place, boundaries that make you feel safe, that allow you to be your best person in relationships, you have so much more freedom to just operate in that type of feminine flow that so many women I know are looking for, because there's so much content on social media surrounding this and how to achieve that. This is how you achieve that, by having the masculine structures in place to create the right safety. This is why in dating and relationships, finding a man who makes you feel safe is so important. Because when you are with a man who makes you feel safe, then you are more free to be more loving, to be more kind. You are free to, explore more. I wouldn't have started my business without my husband, because he made me feel safe to do that, to go out on a limb and to take a risk and become a business owner, right? So you are able to be more yourself when you have the masculine structures in place, both in a person, yes, and also within yourself. So if you are looking to learn what the unhealthy patterns are that are keeping you from having unhealthy relationships, I would love to work with you one on one and coach with you and help you not only heal those patterns, but also attract healthy and loving relationships. You can DM me or you can book a call using the link in the description. I will talk to you soon. Love you so much. Bye.